What I'm trying to do here is basically tell you about ONDC in like in 15 minutes. It's very difficult, but I will try. It's a huge topic. It's a lot of things to talk about, but I'll keep it crisp and clear. So as you know, ONDC. So agenda. Sorry, I'm just having some issue here. It's very, 4 points, that we'll cover here. What is ONDC? The architecture of ONDC, how ONDC is shaped, what is, nuts and bolts of ONDC at a very high level, will not go into deep. The impact on e-commerce ONDC will have. What are we looking at? Why ONDC is being talked about? What is the big thing here? That is what we're going to talk about in number 3 point. And then how can you be part of ONDC? How do I register an ONDC? Because that is one of the questions that we get a lot more these days. That I want to be part of ONDC, but I don't know. Right. So ONDC, in a nutshell, is the open network for digital commerce. It's open, which means anyone can join. It's a network. It's not an application. It's not a website you can go to. It's not some platform where you log in. It's a network, and you will understand why it's a network a little bit later. And it's for digital commerce. It's for anything which you want to digitally sell from one place to another, one person to another. It's primarily a P2P network, which means it's person to person, but it's B2B also, business to business. When you pay P2P, primarily what it means that is point to point. It basically connects one point to another point. Right. It's an initiative by Indian government. Like it has the full force of the government. The participation in ONDC, is multiple people are, even the giants like Google, even like banks like ICICI. If you look at here, the ONDC, which is umbrella, organization, has shareholders which are banks and big banks, those kind of stuff. So it's something which has the blessing of a lot of big giants, not only the government but even private people. And you might have seen a lot of buzz in media about ONDC, ITC and Unilever, Dabur in talks to join ONDC, Google in talks, Dunzo, PhonePe, Google Pay, Reliance, Amazon, Flipkart, Paytm, you name it. Everyone in India who is associated with e-commerce or even not associated with e-commerce is part of ONDC, and that is what is exciting about this network. That is what is exciting about what is happening in ONDC, is that it's not a small network, or it's not something where a lot of small group of people is doing something. It's basically even the big giants. And it's not just for big also. Since you see Google and Facebook and Reliance, you think this is for the big guys. Actually, this is for the small guys. It's for the smallest seller in the neighborhood. It's the smallest kirana shop in the neighborhood. It's for that. So everyone is a participant. It's an open network. That's why it is the name itself has open network, so everyone can participate. And what is the impact ONDC will have, right? One of the things that, why is it being talked about? What are we looking at? So ONDC, this is not just my view, it's the view of a lot of people and a lot of policymakers, that ONDC is going to be the primary channel of online sales in coming decade, which means that this channel is probably going to be the biggest e-commerce channel in India in this coming decade, because we're talking about 300 million customers, 30 crore customers that we're talking about on ONDC. We're talking about a billion orders per month, which is like 100 crore orders every month that is expected on ONDC channel. We are looking at not like 1,000 sellers, 10,000 sellers. We are looking at 1.5 crore sellers are expected to use ONDC. And because of sheer size, the e-commerce today actually has a coverage of 20% pin code. Only 20,000, 25,000 pin codes e-commerce can get to through Amazon or Flipkart or current players. With ONDC, that is going to jump to 75%, right? All your long tail neighborhood supply, everything will be available on ONDC. It's basically ONDC. You discover your local neighborhood in deepest possible. And that is what the power of ONDC is. And it's not a specific category. It basically covers all the category: grocery, fashion, home, even like flight tickets, insurance. Even people are talking about, how do I find my, tutor, for education in my local neighborhood. You can use ONDC for that, right? So ONDC is going to transform e-commerce. One of the things which you will see in next few years is that potentially the way, ONDC being shaping up, it's going to transform the e-commerce in a huge way in India. Now getting into ONDC specific, right? So I'm just gonna take like few minutes just to tell you the architecture of ONDC, because that will help you understand where you can play the role. Which part of ONDC is, you can play the role, right? So this is the website you see, but most of the website when you see has 3 layers. It's storefront for buyers, where your customers come. Then there's a platform on which the website is built, and then there's suppliers, right? And platform basically connects through a storefront your buyers and suppliers, right? This is what you see. So basically, there's a storefront, there's a platform, and then supplier, and there's value in each of these places, right? Supplier has value because they bring products. Storefront has value, which means that they bring, you know your customers. They interact. They use the search on storefront. They use filters. They use cart, checkout, payment. That's what happens on storefront, right? And platform has value because it connects the supplier and the customers. The logic is there, right? And that has value, and this value today is there with single player like Flipkart or Amazon, because they control everything, all these 3 layers, right? So what ONDC is doing, that it's basically breaking this, that supplier, platform, and storefront. They're literally breaking these 3 apart, and saying that on one side there'll be seller app, right? On other side there'll be buyer apps. The job of buyer apps is to get orders. So these buyer apps can be your banks. These buyer apps can be Airtels, telcos. These buyer apps can be payment like Google Pay and Phone Pay kind of apps. These buyer apps can be rider apps like Uber. It can be gaming, even like gaming companies who have a lot of customers coming, but they today cannot do e-commerce. So they have a lot of buyers. These buyer apps can be that. And the seller apps are primarily who are sellers, who are local kirana shops, your handicraft producers, your basically people who are have a shop nearby, local neighborhood shop like a fashion retail shop, brands. These will be the seller apps, right? And ONDC will connect these two. And the key responsibilities of both seller and apps are very clear. Buyer apps get the customers, seller apps get the supply, and buyer app and seller app talk, because the ONDC has set a specification how they can talk to each other. That's pretty much the ONDC is. It's a spec. It's a specification. It has nothing other than that, right? So that's a very high level, what ONDC is. And if I go deeper, ONDC has seller app, buyer apps. It also has logistics apps, which primarily, behave on one side like a seller logistics app and buyer logistics app. I'm not going to talk about that right now. It has a gateway basically, which basically makes sure the buyer and the seller app can talk to each other. It's primarily used for discovery, for search. It has registry where all the seller app and the buyer app has to register. It has a reputation ledger where basically your reputation of each of these entities is maintained, who is good, who is not good, so that people know, and ONDC can discard the bad players in the ecosystem. This is what I said. On one hand, it's rides, insurance, travel, kirana, agri, any service, it can be services, it can be your insurance, travel, retail, rides, even like taxis can be on the supply side. On the buyer side, usually you'll see ICICI, Paytm, Airtel, GPay, and the gaming apps can also participate. So that's basically what ONDC, how ONDC is expected to, impact e-commerce, what ONDC is. And as I said, primarily in ONDC, you have a split between a buyer and the seller app. And the question now comes, how do I participate? How do I, get into ONDC network, right? Now, you basically, since I come from Plotch, there's one way you can get to ONDCs through Plotch, where you can easily create your buyer app, basically, which means that you can collect payment, you can register on ONDC, you can search on ONDC, you can basically create cart, you can create checkouts, right? So that's one, thing that, that one way you can participate ONDC. The other way is, you participate as a seller app. Again, you can, Plotch provides a service where you can, manage your catalog, your logistics, because primarily most of the time seller is expected to handle the logistics and the registration and taxonomy of the product and those kind of stuff. There also, Plotch provides one-click ONDC connector, so you can use that also. For that, you don't need to be, if you are on Shopify, you can use this connector to connect to ONDC. That also is a possibility. There are APIs available if you want to build your own software. ONDC provides you APIs. Plotch provides level 1 APIs. We are part of ONDC Accelerator program. So we are producing APIs right now, and you can get access to these APIs. So you can build your apps using these APIs. Also, if you want to directly, connect to ONDC and you don't want to go through Plotch, which is fine. You can contact team at ondc.org, and they can help you become part of ONDC. Currently, it's a little bit of a manual process, but it's getting automated, and that's. And if you have any questions, you can always ping me, Manoj at plotch.ai. I'm happy to answer in whatever way. So this is